A stranger opened the door to my lake house and asked if I was the maintenance man here to fix the Wi-Fi. That's when I saw the superhost plaque on the mantle. My son had turned my sanctuary into an illegal hotel while I was still paying the mortgage. I didn't yell. I simply walked back to my truck and returned an hour later with the one guest my son couldn't refuse. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. You need to understand the layout of the betrayal before you can appreciate the demolition. 3 hours earlier, I was driving up the winding gravel road to the Roost. That's what I called it. A generic name, sure, but it meant everything to me. I bought that land in 1998. It was nothing but scrub brush and a muddy shoreline. I cleared the lot myself. My wife Ellen and I poured the foundation. Every weekend for 6 years, I drove 3 hours north to lay brick, frame walls, and hang drywall. I missed football games. I missed barbecues. I put every cent of overtime from the plant into that place. It was going to be the retirement spot, the place where I could finally exhale after 40 years of inhaling factory dust. So when my son, Tyler, came to me 8 months ago, looking ragged and desperate, I led with my heart, not my head. "I just need space, Dad," he'd said. He was 30, between jobs, again. "The city is suffocating me. I can't think. If I could just stay at the Roost for a while, write my screenplay, find myself." I handed him the keys. I didn't even hesitate. "Just pay the electric bill," I told him. "I'll handle the mortgage and the taxes. You just keep the lights on and the pipes from freezing." He hugged me. He actually cried. "Thank you, Dad. You won't even know I'm there." Turns out that was the only honest thing he said. I didn't know he was there because half the time he wasn't. I wanted to surprise him. It was his 30th birthday. I had a cooler full of ribeyes in the truck bed and a bottle of the expensive bourbon he pretends to like. I pulled up the driveway expecting to see his beat-up Honda Civic. Instead, there were 3 cars, a Lexus SUV, a BMW, and a rental van. My stomach dropped. I thought maybe he was having a party, a birthday bash I wasn't invited to. That hurt, sure, but it happens. I parked behind the Lexus. I walked up the steps. Steps I built with my own hands, sanding the cedar until my fingerprints wore off. That's when I saw the keypad. It was a sleek, black digital lock. I didn't install that. My key, the brass key I'd carried on my ring since 2004, was useless. And next to the door, a tasteful little QR code sign stuck to the siding. "Welcome guests. No early check-ins. Owners do not live on site." Owners, plural. I stood there, staring at the sign. The birds were singing. The lake was lapping against the shore. But all I could hear was a high-pitched ringing in my ears. The door opened. A guy in swim trunks and a frantic expression stood there. He was holding a phone. "Oh, thank God," he said. "Are you the maintenance guy? The host said he sent someone. The Wi-Fi is down and we're trying to stream the game." I looked at him. I looked past him, into my living room. The furniture was different. My comfortable, worn leather recliner was gone, replaced by something beige and angular. There were throw pillows everywhere. Live, laugh, lake art on the walls. It looked like a catalog. It looked sterile. And there, on the stone mantel I had laid rock by rock, was a framed certificate. Airbnb Superhost, 4.9 stars. Tyler's Lakeside Retreat. "Sir?" the guy asked. "The router?" "I'm not the maintenance man," I said. My voice sounded strange, calm, detached. "Oh," he said. "Who are you then?" "I'm the owner," I said. The guy laughed, a nervous, confused chuckle. "No, Tyler is the owner. I've been messaging him all week." I didn't yell. I didn't storm in. I didn't throw a punch. I realized in that split second that if I caused a scene now, I would look like the crazy local harassing the paying tourists. "Right," I said. "Tyler." I turned around, I walked back to my truck. I sat in the driver's seat and looked at the house. My house. I pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app. I checked the joint account I shared with my wife. For 8 months, I had been paying the mortgage, $1,800 a month. I had been paying the internet, $89 a month. I had been paying the property insurance. And Tyler? I checked the utility payments. He had paid them all right, but the usage was off the charts. The electric bill was triple what it usually was. Water usage was up 400%. He wasn't finding himself. He was running a business, and I was the silent investor who didn't know he was investing. I dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Dad, what's up? I'm actually in a creative flow right now. Can I call you back?" Background noise, clinking glasses, music. He wasn't at the lake. He wasn't writing a screenplay. "I'm at the cabin, Tyler," I said. Silence. Dead silence. Then a shift. His voice changed. It wasn't the voice of my son anymore. It was the voice of a cornered salesman. "Oh, you decided to drive up. You should have called, Dad. I'm renting it out for a few days, just to cover some expenses. You know how expensive the heating is." "I'm looking at 3 cars, Tyler," I said. "I'm looking at a digital lock I don't have the code to. I'm looking at a superhost plaque." "Dad, listen," he said. "You're overreacting. This is arbitrage. It's smart business. I'm leveraging an underutilized asset. I was going to surprise you with the profits eventually." "Eventually?" I repeated. "Yes, look, don't go inside. The guests have a right to privacy. If you disturb them, it violates the terms of service and I could lose my status. Just go home. We'll talk about this on Monday. I'll buy you dinner." He was dismissing me. He was telling me to get off my own property because it might hurt his rating on an app. "You're right," I said. "I shouldn't disturb the guests." "Exactly," he sighed, relieved. "Thanks for understanding, Dad. You're the best. Go home. Drive safe." He hung up. He actually thought that worked. He thought he could wave his hand, use some buzzwords like arbitrage, and I would just turn around and drive 3 hours back to the suburbs. He forgot who raised him. He forgot who taught him how to fish. He forgot that before I was a tired old retiree, I was a foreman who managed sites with 200 men. I didn't go home. I drove 4 miles down the road to the hardware store. I bought a heavy-duty deadbolt, a new handle set, and a crowbar. Then I called the sheriff's non-emergency line. I've known Sheriff Miller for 20 years. We fish the same cove. "Jim," I said, "I've got a trespassing situation at the Roost. I need a civil standby while I secure the property." "Trespassers? Squatters?" "Sort of," I said. "Just meet me there." This brings us back to the hook. I returned an hour later. The guests were still there. The guy in the swim trunks was on the porch, drinking a beer. I pulled into the driveway. Sheriff Jim pulled in right behind me, lights flashing but no siren. The guests froze. I got out of the truck. I had the new locks in one hand and the power drill in the other. "Folks," I said, walking up the steps, "party's over." The guy in swim trunks stood up, angry now. "Whoa, buddy, we paid $2,000 for this week. You can't just—" Sheriff Jim stepped out of his cruiser. He adjusted his belt. "Actually, he can. This is Mr. Henderson. He owns the property, and according to him, he has no rental agreement with you." The color drained from the guy's face. "But the app—" "You've been scammed," I said. "I suggest you call the host and ask for a refund, but you have 1 hour to vacate the premises." I didn't wait for them to pack. I walked right past them. I went to the back door, the one that still had the old lock because Tyler was too lazy to change both. I used my key. I walked into the kitchen. It was worse than I thought. There was a laminated sheet on the fridge. House rules.
Quiet hours after 10 p.m., $200 fine. No shoes on the carpet, $100 fine. Checkout is 10 a.m. sharp, $50 per 15 minutes. He was charging people fines for walking on the carpet I paid for. I opened the pantry. It was stocked with Honesty Bar snacks, little bags of chips, mini bottles of vodka. A price list was taped to the door. He was selling my own liquor. I saw a bottle of scotch, a bottle I had been saving for my retirement party, listed for $15 a shot. It was half empty. My hands started to shake. Not from fear, from a cold, hard rage. I grabbed the drill. I went to the front door. The electronic lock was battery-operated. I didn't have the code, so I took the crowbar and wedged it into the frame. With one hard yank, I popped the mechanism. Wood splintered. I didn't care. I stripped the smart lock off the door and threw it into the yard. The guests were scrambling, throwing suitcases into the BMW. They were yelling at someone on the phone. "He's here! The police are here! You said this was private!" Tyler. They were talking to Tyler. My phone rang. I let it ring. I installed the new deadbolt. I installed the new handle. I locked it. Then I sat in my beige, uncomfortable replacement living room chair and waited. The guests left in a cloud of dust and gravel. Sheriff Jim tipped his hat. "You good, Sam?" "I'm good, Jim, thanks." "You need to file a report?" "Not yet," I said. "Let's see how the rest of the day goes." Jim left. I was alone in the silence, but it didn't feel like my sanctuary anymore. It felt like a crime scene. I started looking through the drawers. I needed to know the scale of this. In the desk drawer, the one where I used to keep my fishing maps, I found a folder labeled The Roost Ops. I opened it. Spreadsheets, cleaning schedules, a contract with a local cleaning crew, and the bank statements. He hadn't opened a separate business account. He was lazy. He was using an old joint savings account he'd had since college, when I was technically still a signer on, though I hadn't looked at it in a decade. I pulled up the account on my phone. The numbers made me dizzy. May, $4,200. June, $5,800. July, $7,100. He had made over $30,000 in 4 months. $30,000. While I paid the mortgage, while I paid the insurance, while I worried about the price of gas. He wasn't just staying here. He was exploiting me. He looked at his father, the man who taught him to ride a bike, the man who co-signed his student loans, and saw a resource to be mined. My phone rang again. Tyler. I answered this time. "Are you insane?" he screamed. He wasn't the smooth salesman anymore. He was a petulant child. "Do you know what you just did? You got me delisted. They suspended my account. That was a $3,000 booking." "You owe me $32,000, I said. "What?" "I see the account, Tyler. I see the numbers." That's revenue, Dad, not profit. I have expenses. I have marketing costs. I have the cleaning crew." "And the mortgage?" I asked. "The taxes? The insurance? Did you factor those into your expenses? Or was that just the dad scholarship?" "You're being selfish," he yelled. "I'm building an empire here. I was going to cut you in eventually. You just ruined everything." "I'm changing the locks, Tyler. Don't come up here. If you step foot on this property, I will have you arrested for trespassing." "You can't do that. I have rights. I'm a tenant." "You're not a tenant," I said calmly. "You're a guest who overstayed his welcome, and you never paid rent, not one dime, so good luck with that eviction protection." I hung up. I felt strong. I felt justified, but I had no idea about the legal nightmare he was about to unleash on me. 2 days later, I was back home in the suburbs. The letter arrived via courier. It was from a lawyer.
Notice of unlawful eviction and demand for restitution. Tyler was suing me. He was claiming that we had a verbal lease agreement. He was claiming that by changing the locks, I had performed an illegal self-help eviction. He was demanding access to the property to retrieve his business assets and suing me for lost wages and emotional distress. He wanted $50,000. I sat at the kitchen table. My wife, Linda, was reading the letter over my shoulder. "He's our son, Sam," she whispered. Her face was pale. "He's suing us? His own parents?" "He's not suing us. He's trying to scare us." Maybe we should just let him have the summer," she said. "Is it worth tearing the family apart?" That was the hardest part, the isolation. Linda wanted peace. She wanted Sunday dinners. She didn't want a war. "Linda," I said, "he stole 30 grand. He kicked us out of our own house. If we give in now, he learns that he can walk all over us forever." I went to a lawyer of my own, a sharp guy named Alvarez. He looked at the letter. He looked at the texts. "Here's the problem," Alvarez said. "In this state, if someone stays in a property for more than 30 days, they establish tenancy, even if they don't pay rent. Technically, Tyler is a tenant at will."
So I can't kick him out? You can, Alvarez said, but you have to go through the formal eviction process. It takes 3 to 6 months. And since you changed the locks, he actually has a case against you for the illegal lockout. If he pushes this, a judge might force you to let him back in until the hearing. I felt the blood drain from my face. So he wins? He steals my house and he wins? Not necessarily, Alvarez said, but it's going to be messy and expensive. Unless what? Unless we can prove he abandoned the property, or unless we can get him to agree to leave voluntarily. I went home. I didn't sleep. I thought about the money, the betrayal, but mostly I thought about the arrogance, the way he called it arbitrage, the way he thought he was smarter than me because he knew how to use an app. He thought I was a dinosaur. Okay, if he wanted to play business tycoon, I'd treat him like a business rival. I called Tyler the next day. I put on my tired, defeated voice. "Tyler," I said, "I talked to a lawyer." "Yeah," he sounded smug. "And he told you that you screwed up, right?" "He did," I lied. "He said I could be in a lot of trouble." "I don't want to sue you, Dad," Tyler said, his voice dripping with fake sympathy. "I really don't, but you messed with my livelihood. I have investors, you know." "Investors, sure." "I know," I said. "Look, I'm tired. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to fight." "So let me back in," he said. "Give me the new key code." "I can't just do that. Your mother is too upset," I said. "But maybe we can work something out. You said this was making money, right?" "Tons of money, Dad. It's a gold mine." "Okay," I said. "Show me. If it's really a business, treat me like a partner. Send me the full financials, the booking history, the expenses. If I see that it's worth it, maybe we make it official. Maybe we split the profits 50-50. There was a pause. I could hear the gears turning in his head. He thought he had won. He thought the old man was folding. 70-30, he said. I do all the work. 60-40, I countered, and I want to see everything, past and future. I need to know the tax liability. Fine, he said. I'll email you the export from the app. And the bank statements, I added, just for my accountant. Done. This was the trap. I spent the next 3 weeks playing the part of the confused, compliant father. Tyler sent me the data. He was so eager to prove how smart he was, how successful his startup was, that he handed me the smoking gun. I printed everything. The spreadsheet was a roadmap of his greed. August 12th, $1,200 booking. August 14th,
$400 cleaning fee paid to Venmo user at Crystal-G. Crystal was his girlfriend. August 15th, $300 maintenance paid to himself. I sat there with a highlighter. I highlighted every date the house was rented. I cross-referenced it with the town's short-term rental ordinance. Here's the thing about the Roost. It's in a zone that strictly prohibits commercial rentals of less than 30 days. The neighbors had been fighting against Airbnbs for years.
Tyler didn't know that, because Tyler never talked to the neighbors. He thought they were just townies. I called Mrs. Gable, who lives next door to the cabin. She's 80 years old and watches the road like a hawk. "Helen," I said, "it's Sam. I'm so sorry about the traffic lately." "Oh, Sam," she sighed, "it's been awful. Strangers at all hours, parties. Someone parked on my hydrangeas." "I know," I said. "I'm handling it. But I need a favor. Did you happen to write down any license plates or dates?" "Sam, honey," she said, "I have a logbook." Of course she did. "Can I get a copy?" "I'll fax it over." Now I had the app data proving he took the money. I had the bank statements proving he kept the money. And I had Mrs. Gable's logbook proving the nuisance. But I needed one more thing, the nail in the coffin. I looked at the tax returns he had sent me, part of his proof of income for a car loan he wanted me to co-sign 6 months ago. I still had the file. He hadn't declared a dime of this income, and he hadn't collected or remitted the state lodging tax. That's a felony if the amount is high, Luff. I had him. But I didn't want to just stop him. I wanted to teach him something he would never forget. He was pushing me to sign the partnership agreement. He wanted it done before Labor Day weekend because he had a massive booking lined up, a corporate retreat that was paying $5,000 for 3 A's. "I need the keys by Friday, Dad," he texted. "The guests are arriving at 2 p.m. Come to the house on Thursday. We'll sign the papers. Bring Linda some flowers." "Sure thing, Pops." Thursday night. He walked in wearing a suit. He never wore suits. He looked like he was about to ring the bell at the stock exchange. He had a bouquet of cheap carnations for his mother. Linda wouldn't even look at him. She stayed in the kitchen. I was sitting at the dining room table. I had a stack of papers in front of me. "Hey, smells good," Tyler said. "Did Mom make meatloaf?" "Sit down, Tyler," I said. He sat. He put a folder on the table. "Here's the agreement. My lawyer looked it over. It's standard stuff. You put the deed in the LLC. I manage the LLC. You get 40% of net profits." I put the deed in the LLC. That was his play. He was trying to steal the house legally. I read it. "Great, so we just need a signature." He clicked a pen and slid it toward me. I didn't pick up the pen. I picked up my remote. "I prepared a little presentation, too," I said. I had connected my laptop to the big TV in the living room. "What is this?" Tyler laughed, nervous. "PowerPoint? Dad, just sign the paper." I pressed play. Slide 1. The revenue. $38,450. The number was in big red font. "Wow," Tyler said. "See, I told you. Impressive, right?" Slide 2. The expenses. Mortgage, paid by Sam, $14,400. Utilities, paid by Sam, $2,100. Repairs, paid by Sam, $1,500. Total stolen from parents, $18,000.
Tyler stopped smiling. "Dad, come on, that's harsh language." Slide 3. The zoning law. I projected the PDF of the town ordinance. Section 14.2, Prohibition of Short-Term Rentals in Residential Zone A. Fine, $1,000 per day of violation. Tyler squinted. That doesn't apply to us. We're grandfathered in."
"No," I said, "we aren't. I checked." Slide 4. The tax fraud. This was the killer. I showed the breakdown of the uncollected state lodging tax, 9%, and the undeclared income. You owe the state roughly $3,400 in theft of sales tax, I said, and the IRS is going to want about $10,000 of that income. Tyler stood up. "Okay, this is ridiculous. I'm leaving." "Sit down," I said, "or I call the state police." He sat. "I have one more slide," I said. Slide 5. The settlement. I slid a paper across the table. It wasn't the partnership agreement. "What is this?" he asked. "It's a confession and a promissory note." "I'm not signing this." "Let me walk you through your options," I said. Option A, you walk out that door. I call the zoning board. I hand them Mrs. Gable's logbook. They fine you, not me because the listing is in your name, $1,000 for every day you rented it. That's about 40 days, so 40,000 fine. His eyes went wide. "Then," I continued, "I call the State Department of Revenue. I report the tax fraud. That's an audit, penalties, interest, maybe jail time depending on how the judge feels about entitled kids scamming the system." "Dad," he squeaked. "And finally," I said, "I sue you for the $18,000 in expenses you tricked me into paying while you profited." Tyler looked at his mother. "Mom, are you hearing this?" Linda walked into the room. She looked sad, but she looked strong. "I hear it, Tyler. I heard you call me the cleaning lady on the phone to your girlfriend last week. We have the recordings from the security camera you forgot to turn off." That was a bluff. We didn't have recordings, but he didn't know that. He slumped in his chair. The suit looked too big for him now. "What's option B?" he whispered. "Option B," I said. "You sign this paper. You agree that you owe me $38,450, the total revenue, every cent you made using my property." "I spent some of it," he whined. "I don't have it all." "Then you get a job, a real job, and you pay me $500 a month until it's gone, with interest." "And the cabin?" "The cabin is closed," I said. "I canceled your Labor Day booking an hour ago. I emailed the guests and told them the property had a sewage leak. I refunded their money from your account." You logged into my account?" "You sent me the password, Tyler, when you were showing me the metrics." He put his head in his hands. "Sign it," I said, "or I call the zoning board right now. Their office closes in 20 minutes. He signed. His hand was shaking. He left the house without the meatloaf. He didn't slam the door. He closed it softly.
It's been 6 months. Tyler is working at a logistics company. It's boring work, warehouse management. He hates it. He sends me a Venmo for $500 on the first of every month. The description just says, "Rent." We don't talk much. We will, eventually. He's my son. I love him. But trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can glue it back together, but you can still see the cracks in the reflection. I went back up to the Roost last weekend. I took down the Live, Laugh, Lake art. I burned it in the fire pit. It smelled like cheap plastic. I brought my old leather recliner back. I put my fishing maps back in the desk. I sat on the deck with a glass of that expensive bourbon, the bottle he hadn't finished selling yet. Sheriff Jim drove by on his patrol. He slowed down and waved. I waved back. The sun was setting over the water, turning the whole lake into a sheet of hammered copper. It was quiet. No guests, no QR codes, no smart locks beeping, just the wind in the pines and the sound of a loon calling out in the distance. It cost me a lot to get this peace back. It cost me my innocence about my own family.
It cost me a year of stress. But as I took a sip of that bourbon, I looked at the check mark on my phone screen. Payment received, $500, from Tyler. I smiled. It was the best drink I ever had. I pulled up the listing on Airbnb one last time. It was still there, but grayed out. Permanently closed. Owner occupied. Damn right. Wait, I'm not done. I need to tell you one last thing, because there's always a ripple effect. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the town clerk. Mr. Henderson? Speaking. This is Sarah from the zoning office. We received an anonymous tip about an illegal rental operation at your address. My heart stopped. Had Tyler done it? Had he reported me out of spite? I can explain, I started. No need, she interrupted. The tipster included a very detailed logbook and a notarized affidavit stating that the illegal activity was conducted by a Tyler Henderson without the owner's consent. It seems you've already rectified the situation.
I paused. I did. Well, she said, usually we issue a fine, but looking at this, it seems the owner was the victim here. And frankly, the tipster, Mrs. Gable, she spoke very highly of you. Mrs. Gable. I walked next door the next morning with a blueberry pie. She was on her porch, rocking in her chair. "Morning, Sam," she said. "Morning, Helen. I heard you spoke to the town." She winked, a slow, mischievous wink. "I just told the truth, and I might have mentioned that if they find you, I'd come down there and pick at the office myself." I handed her the pie. "Thank you. Just keep the riffraff out," she said. "I like the quiet." "Me too, Helen. Me too." And that's the real victory. Not the money, not the "I told you so." It's the community. It's the neighbors who have your back because you treated them with respect for 20 years. It's the sheriff who knows you by name. Tyler thought assets were things you put on the spreadsheet. He thought networking was adding people on LinkedIn. He didn't understand that the real assets are the relationships you build when there's no money involved at all. I'm heading down to the dock now. The bass are biting, and for the first time in a year, the only thing I have to catch is a fish. People ask me if I was too hard on him. "He's your son," they say. "He was just trying to get ahead." I think about that sometimes, usually when I'm paying the bills that are finally starting to look normal again. But then I remember the plaque. Superhost. He didn't get that plaque by being a good host. He got it by being a good liar. If I had let him slide, if I had accepted the partnership, I would have been his co-conspirator. I would have taught him that the way to succeed is to steal from the people who love you and ask for forgiveness later. I didn't raise a thief. I raised a man. And sometimes becoming a man means facing the music when you break the window. He called me yesterday. "Dad?" "Yeah, Ty?" I got promoted to shift supervisor. It's a $1 raise." "That's good, son. Honest work." "Yeah. Hey, I was thinking, maybe for your birthday next month, I could come up. Just for the day. I'll bring the steaks." I looked at the calendar. I looked at the lake. "Just for the day," I said. "And Tyler?" "Yeah? Leave the phone in the car." "Okay, Dad, I will." He sounded tired. He sounded humble. He sounded like my son again. And that was worth every single penny.